priest or prophet, playing God in the process. Was I chasing convenience? In a wave of disaster.
Welcome everybody to the church we hope for. Please, you're coming in. Feel free to worship with us however you want to this morning, whether that's just sitting and breathing in the songs or standing and jumping around, whatever feels best to you today. But feel free to join us as we sing.
And Buenas tardes, church. Thank you, Hannah and team, for reminding us of God's scandalous and overwhelming love that welcomes all of us. And what a good reminder that God welcomes all bodies here today, that you already belong, no matter if you are a black body, a queer body, a Latino body, a female body, a man body, a brother, a sister, a sibling. God's love can reach you, and you don't have to earn it. And what a grace to know that today, how freeing to know that today, how liberating and empowering to know that today. So please feel welcome in this place. We are a beloved community, moved by the Spirit to follow the life, love, and justice of Jesus. And my name is Ines. I'm one of the co-lead pastors here. Amen. Thank you. Thank you, Kristen. I got friends here that remind me that I'm loved too. Thank you. Thank you. And we are a beloved community. We're happy that you're here, and we hope that you feel embraced today and welcome today. I do want to say that there's another event that's happening. We don't usually have other events happening at the same time. So if you see people coming in and out, Pasadena Mennonite Church is having a healing space for community organizers and Palestinian siblings and allies that have been doing work with the prayer vigils on Monday night since October. And so they're having a healing space at Fellowship Hall. And also downstairs, there's one-on-one therapy sessions going on for people to care for their mental health. And so I'm grateful that they're here. So if you had to park far away, just know that it was for the sake of healing. Someone else is healing, okay? They're gonna be here from noon till 5:30. There might be some dancing going on, so you might wanna join them afterwards. I don't know, but just wanted to let you know that this is why everything was packed when you came on. But it was for the sake of healing and for those people who are doing justice work, that are caring for their bodies so that they can be well as well. So thank you for your understanding there. I'm glad that you are here. We are in between series right now. We just finished an Eastertide series, and we just finished that Eastertide with an amazing Pentecost Sunday. It feels like it was forever ago, but also it feels like it was just yesterday. We had the AAPI Sunday, and I'm pointing to here because it feels like this place is holy ground now after we experience a beautiful slow communion, partaking of the tea ceremony and passing rice cakes to each other. And so it does feel like holy place. And so that was our Pentecost Sunday. If you have not watched that service, I encourage you to watch it. If you have not listened to Pastor Jeanette Oak preach, I encourage you to hear her preach. If you have not listened to Macha's benediction, Otsukare-sama, you must listen to that benediction and the why behind it, because now those things are part of us, part of our cultural practice and part of our center. At this church, we say that the margins are our middle. And so we are in between services, and in between sermon series, and this summer we're going to go into a sermon series called Who We Are, to remember the vision of this church and to remember the values of this church. And so as we're in between series, we're going to start with Acts 2, or really continue, because that's where Dr. Jeanette dropped the mic last time, and she left us with the fire of Pentecost, with that Christ-centering power. And Nicola Patton is going to continue that story today as she comes up for preaching. So just welcome the Spirit today. Welcome all your emotions. Welcome your body. And I hope that you'll welcome in this place. One of the things that we do here at the Church We Hope For is we value our stories. And storytelling is a spiritual practice as well as a cultural and spiritual practice. And so I'd like to invite Kristen Bruan to come up. Yes, yes. She is going to share her testimonial today, and you too can share your testimonial if you would like. And so I saw some things that Kristen was posting because I stalk people on Instagram. This is how I know a little bit more about you and about the things that you're passionate about and just your heart. And so I said, Kristen, would you mind sharing those things that you shared? And so I invited her to share her testimonial, and I'm excited that we get to hear from you today. This is yours.
Thank you. Hola, buenas todos. ¿Qué tal? Yes, I am Asian and I speak Spanish. I won't get into that today, but I will share the musings that I typically post on my Instagram. So I learned that green is the family color on my mother's side. That's kind of why I'm rocking this. It begins and ends with love. So my grandmother loved my grandfather to the point that she actually became a devotee to the saint he was named after, Saint Joseph. He was the adoptive father of Jesus. So Papa Jose, also lovingly known as Kokoise, had 4 sweet but stubborn daughters. One was my mother. He likened his namesake so much as a man of few words. He never bickered but worked hard and cared for his family. While Papa Jose worked the land, Mama Rosario would go to church every day and wore green to reflect her and Papa's faithfulness to God. His feast day became a community event where the family would gather and have 2 family members dress up as Mary and Joseph. They'd welcome the unhoused into their home and feed them by hand. I'm convinced this is why my aunt, the oldest of the stubborn daughters, joined the order of the Siervas de San Jose, which are the servants of Saint Joseph, in honor of Papa Jose. So over time, the color green would subtly pop up at family gatherings. When asked about it, my mom and I realized it was a subconscious nod to Papa Jose's love and Mama Rosario's devotion. So whenever we do wear green, we take a moment to give thanks to all the prayers of my Pama, which is Mama and Papa. So why was I sharing this story? So I believe our stories are powerful tools to establish meaning and connection with our past, present, and future. Recovering or rewriting narratives for those in the diaspora can construct and strengthen identity when we are no longer connected to the land of our ancestors. If you have a family with specific traditions, you are participating in the work of meaning-making through remembrance, which is a process of making sense of how we inhabit the world around us. As believers, we do that through communion. I frequently tell my family stories or share personal reflections to contribute to the greater work the Filipino diaspora is doing in reclaiming our roots. While there are similar themes, sharing different perspectives contributes to our collective Filipino history. Storytelling is important to avoid stereotypes and prevent essentialist gatekeeping. Every person's story is a facet of the precious jewel God is carving out of our culture. So my family is Filipino. For me, that means I come from people who are Ilonggo and Pangasinense, Roman Catholic and agrarian, educators and migrants, warriors and priests, colonized, liberated, transnational, but tethered. Through my storytelling, I hope people, you, can construct your own family narratives. Yes, there will be hard moments where you rehash family trauma, but it also makes room to generate post-traumatic growth and a sense of agency to begin the process of generational healing and thriving. And so, once we acknowledge our social location, the work of liberation can truly take root in a personal and incarnational way for us and everyone around us. Thank you.
So this is really just going to be a time for whatever you need it to be. I feel like some of us came in kind of tired from the week. We're just a little drained. So if you just need to sit and meditate on the worship, feel free to do that. If you want to stand and jump around and sing with us, you can do that, whatever, anything in between. But this is just a time of healing for all of us together. So whatever you need, but we're going to worship together a little more.
It's all about you. From my and every knee will bow, and every tongue shall confess you, Jesus, Jesus.
thank you that you love us with zero expectations. All you ask of us is love, God. And we'll fail over and over and over again, but you'll continue to chase us down, to pursue us, to just overwhelm us with your love and your grace and your mercy and your forgiveness. There is absolutely nothing that we could ever do that would ever, ever take your love away from us, God, ever. It's free. And it's unchanging and it's constant. And it is the one thing in this world that we can always trust and always rely on, God, is you. And we thank you for that. Even though we don't deserve it, you say we're worthy. Help us to love like you, God. Help us to love so radically those around us, ourselves, and you. Help us to love that way, God. Thank you. In your holy name I pray. Amen. You all can be seated.
Just want to linger in that moment for a bit. And as I do that, thank you, Mondo. Mondo's going to wave his hand around, and if you are a middle schooler or high schooler, this is your time to go on with Mondo. I hear there's donuts, so don't everyone all leave. I know you're not a middle school or high schooler. Maybe he'll share some with us later. Maybe. I want to tell you a story. It's a story about a little girl who was born in a country, as we all are. And I'm going to pause. Am I too far forward? No. Okay, we'll figure it out. So this little girl was born in a country in the southern hemisphere, and she was about 5 years old. Her family moved for her dad's work. And they moved to a whole other different country, different language, different everything, different culture. And she did her best to try to fit in wherever she could find a group, find, things. She took well to the language. She became friends with a lot of different people. She was very adaptable. And they moved around a lot throughout her life. And everywhere she went, she had to start again with friends. It was constant moving, constant trying to find a group to fit in with, constantly trying to think, maybe if I say these words, or if I dress this way, or I have this hair, or I'm seen with this person, maybe then I'll belong. Maybe I can find belonging if I adapt to other people. All she was looking for was belonging. So keep that little girl in your mind as we think about our story. We've come off of this this Eastertide series, and I'm really not sure how I'm following Dr. Jeanette Oak, because, wow, it was truly a mic drop, so much so that we had to skip a Sunday and have a Sabbath Sunday and then come back later, right? But if you have not heard that sermon, it is incredible. I listened to it twice, because I was just like, wow. But she talked to us about Pentecost Sunday, this second chapter in Acts that is a very long chapter, by the way. I've read it a few times and was like, wow, 47 verses later. I'm only going to give you a few today. But the background is, again, about a people who is looking for belonging. It's a people who came together. They've followed Jesus. They've spent all this time, together. They have watched the climax of the story in Jesus' death and then resurrection. And then Acts sort of feels like, okay, well, what's next? What's the sequel? And is it going to be a good sequel? Because the movie was a blockbuster, right? But now, what do we do with this post-resurrection Jesus? And Pentecost comes as this incredible, life-changing moment, right? And it feels like such a big move from Jesus died, and then he was resurrected, and then they see him again, and then boom, Pentecost happens. But there's time in between. There's a lot of things that happen in between. And I just want to pause there for a second and think, this is just ordinary. Life just happens and they continue on. They still have to get up every day and try to find bread and try to make it through the day. I know that there's, in Acts 1, it talks about them, waiting with Jesus for 40 days and spending all this time in the upper room, and it seems like such a whirlwind of things, but in the in-between is still ordinary time. It's still ordinary life that's happening. And so that's kind of the situation that we find ourselves in right now. It's Pentecost has happened, and what Dr. Jeanette talked about was, this insane chaos, this sort of change, this big disruption. And the verses we're going to read together come after Peter, Jesus is in heaven. Peter speaks to a crowd. He addresses the crowd that notices, wow, there's a bunch of people talking in a bunch of different languages, and they're all like, y'all drunk? This isn't right. This is weird. It's chaos. Chaos is not of God. What do we do with this? And Peter's like, no. Here's what's happened. And Pastor Inez kind of gave us a hint of that a couple weeks ago about it fulfilling prophecies and all this stuff. But where I want to start today is in verse 41, and I think it's on the screen. And so let's just read this together. So this is after Peter has exclaimed the whole truth and talked basically the first kind of gospel message after Pentecost. It says, so those who welcomed his message, Peter's message, were baptized, and that day about 3,000 persons were added. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and fellowship, to the breaking of bread and the prayers. Awe came upon everyone, because many wonders and signs were being done among the apostles. All who believed were together and had all things in common. They would sell their possessions and goods and distribute the proceeds to all as any had need. Day by day, as they spent much time together in the temple, they broke bread at home and ate their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having the goodwill of all the people. And day by day, the Lord added to their number those who were being saved. This is the word of the Lord. They had everything in common. That used to scare me. Some of you have heard my sermon on beloved community and how I'm a recovering isolationist who shied away from community and wanted to do the parts of Christianity without doing Christianity. I wanted to love people without needing them. So when I read a passage like this in Acts, it used to make me want to hide under a bridge or behind a table or behind a speaker because I was on stage doing music, and I obviously have 1,700 chords that I need to wrap up, and don't talk to me because it's more important. This is the part of Christianity that I always thought was really practical and very icky. It's the part that I didn't want to do. Abstract is beautiful and lovely, and I can deal with it on my own in my little introvert corner. This is real life. I don't want any of that. It's too scary. I used to also think that this meant, they had all things in common and they sold their possessions. That to me sounded like living in a commune and couldn't do it. I was like, no, I can't. No. Please let this not be how this goes. And I thought that if you bought into this idea that you lost all sense of unique purpose, that unity meant uniformity. That's what I thought this meant. I thought that selling your possessions and having all things in common meant that you lost yourself and gave up. But what I've realized, and especially being in this community, is that unity actually celebrates diversity. It's in diversity that God shows up in creative ways. And the first thing I noticed about this passage is not that, it's not, like I said, it's not just boom, 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 all these things happen, right? They were together, and the Holy Spirit falls on them, and it's not magically things start happening. It's actually after they've spent a lot of time together. It's after they've been together, and that diversity and probably even, conflict has come up. Even after Jesus, even after Pentecost, they're still human beings. They're still normal people, right? They still get hangry. They still have bills to pay. They still have to go out there and make things work. But it's when they devoted themselves to preaching or to teaching and breaking bread and to praying, these are normal things. That's when the signs and wonders start happening. So what does it look like to have everything in common? Let me just read parts of this again. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and fellowship, to the breaking of bread and the prayers. All who believed were together and had all things in common. They would sell their possessions and goods and distribute the proceeds to all as any had need. Day by day, as they spent much time together in the temple, they broke bread at home and ate their food with glad and generous hearts. What's missing from the text? Because they don't matter to God and that they don't matter to us existing in beloved community, but it's because those are not prerequisites for belonging. And I think that's why they're left out of the text. They do not matter for our belonging. You don't have to look a certain way, act a certain way, love a certain person, have a certain degree or X amount of children or no children or anything to belong. These are not prerequisites for belonging. Everyone's gifts and resources are their own to choose to use and share. And that, as an introvert and everything else, made me feel, okay, so I won't lose myself. I won't lose myself if I commit to being a part of a community. And it's also not just tangible resources. This is the wisdom of the abuelas. This is the creativity of a group. This is the insight of different perspectives. And that, to me, was so clear on AAPI Sunday, on Pentecost Sunday, seeing all the different perspectives come together and watching so many people's ideas come to fruition, and all the languages and all the differences. It was incredible. It was beautiful, and it all came together. That is having everything in common. It's when we can celebrate that diversity that we can find unity. It's not in looking the same, and it's not in being the same. It's not uniformity. It's diversity. They had everything in common. You're gonna hear that, and if you walk away hearing nothing else, they had everything in common. I want that to stick with you. And that's also not just the happy, clappy moments. It's not butterflies and rainbows and joy. It's also the grief and despair. It's not just their hopes and dreams. It's having everything in common means sharing in the deepest difficulties and the things that we don't want to talk about and things we can't talk about. It's in our experiences and in our histories. It's in the unanswered questions and the rages against God, even our rages against each other, against injustice. And as Jeanette reminded us a few weeks ago, sometimes our differences lead to exclusion. It's easier to be around people who look like us, think like us, sound like us. It's easy to exclude people. It's easier to stick to people who are like us, but as she said, diversity is a gift and a challenge. We need Christ to form our diversity, and unity will not come, she says, without intentionality and disruption. Unity will not come without intentionality and disruption. And that's what we've just seen in Pentecost. But they stay together because this is what belonging looks like. It looks like us coming together as our whole selves, Whether or not, that doesn't mean that we come with complete vulnerability and we just bear all to everyone right out the gates. That's terrifying. For the listener and the one sharing, I think. But it does mean that we come as our whole selves. That's what belonging truly looks like. So remember that little girl. That's me. I'm the little girl who moved around. Shocker. I moved around a lot as a little girl, and I never really felt like I belonged anywhere. I was always the foreigner in some setting, even if it was back in my home country. I had lived abroad, and so I was different. I had different languages, and when I came to the U.S., I didn't know how to show up either, because in whatever space I was in, I was different. I was awkward. I grew up, I don't know if I can even say I grew up, but I am from South Africa, and so my accent at the time, you can't tell now, my accent at the time in high school was, it was like a Mean Girls. I basically lived out Mean Girls, if you've seen that. It really was very hard for some of the Mean Girls to understand that, yes, I did have TV, and yes, I did know about the internet and so on. But I adapted. I changed my accent even because people couldn't understand what I was saying. And so in those spaces, I felt never quite fully myself. I certainly, as a white woman, have certainly had a lot of privilege, and my struggle is nothing compared to some other people. To not belong in a friend group, even among people who look like me and sound like me. I know what it's like to be around people who expect certain things of me or expect me to do certain things that maybe I'm not even comfortable with, just so that I can belong. And I realize that whether it's, you know, being a foreigner, being a woman, I'm in a higher theological education situation here, and there are not a lot of women, and you know, all of corrected that slightly, and I said resurrection leads to community, and community leads to revelation, because we learn best when we learn together. We can't learn in a vacuum. We're not meant to be alone. We're not meant to be on an island, isolated, much as some of us would have liked that. It would have been very convenient. But turns out, when you do ordinary things with each other, that's when we find true belonging and where the resurrection actually shows up. And what's curious about these people that are just doing life, it's ordinary. They just showed up, they practiced life together, they ate. Twice it talks about eating. So, you know, I don't know if anyone else is hungry, but I'm hungry. And, you know, it's talking about eating twice. So I think, you know, if it talks about eating in the Bible, we should probably do it. So eating is so normal. It's so part of our existence. We have to eat to exist. And the other thing they did, again, nothing extraordinary, nothing crazy. They were not superhumans. They just showed up consistently. They just showed up. They ate and they showed up. They were just normal human beings who consistently showed up. And that's where God shows up. God shows up in the ordinary. And that is where we find belonging. And I think it's very apropos that this weekend is the first weekend in Pride. And for me to talk about belonging is such a privilege. It's a belonging that doesn't come naturally to everyone. It's certainly a belonging that many of our brothers and sisters and siblings, even in celebrating Pride, can't come as their full selves. And this is what it means to have everything in common. It looks like belonging. It's like the song that Hannah was singing, you love me as you find me. As you are, fully yourself, you can belong. This is not a very, you know, long or poignant sermon, but if you hear nothing else, I want you to hear that you belong, that your whole self, that all of who you are, your whole history, your whole experience, everything that has brought you to where you are belongs here. Belonging doesn't mean that you give up the uniqueness of yourself. You belong as your whole self, and in fact, we need you as your whole self. We need you to come as your whole self. Belonging looks like me bringing my whole self to your whole self, and there being safety in that. Belonging looks like acceptance. It looks like me saying, I may not understand everything you're going through. I may not understand the background that you come from, and you may not understand mine, and we may never get to a place where we actually see everything from the same perspective, but we still belong to each other. We belong, and there's safety in that belonging. It doesn't mean that I don't have agency or you don't have agency or that we give up ourselves when we come to share everything in common, but it does say, I see you for all that you are, and I welcome every part of it. That you don't have to clean up yourself or get your crap together before you can come and belong. Previous spaces I've lived in and existed in and led in, the opposite was true. You needed to behave a certain way before you could belong. You needed to look a certain way before you could belong. You needed to recite certain beliefs before you could belong. But that's not Jesus. That's not this community, and that's not the resurrection. The resurrection is about belonging exactly as you are before anything else changes, before anything else needs to change. You are accepted and loved exactly as you are, and you belong here. You belong here. They had everything in common. And that's belonging. That is what belonging looks like. So as we move to communion, I told you it was going to be a short sermon. As we move to communion, I want you to think about what that means. That belonging together is at this table. We had tables in the front a few weeks ago, and I loved watching all of our people just sit and belong to each other. Just ordinary life, like me spilling tea all over Mondo somehow. It's just normal life, trying to figure out how do we pick up the rice cakes. I struggled. But this is normal life, And everybody is welcome here. Every person is welcome here. Every story, everyone. And I'm so thrilled that I get to say that on the first weekend of Pride. To be able to say that you belong exactly as you are. And that as we have a table here, Jesus had a table as well. He had a table where people belonged, even people that would betray him, even people who would renounce him and sell him out for a couple of pieces of silver. But on that night, he took bread. He took bread and he gave thanks. And he broke the bread. And he gave it to the people around him. He gave it to the people to show them that they belonged. Every single one of them, entirely as themselves, entirely with everything that they brought. And he said, "This is my body broken for you." And in the same way, he took the cup. He said, "This is the cup of my blood, the cup of my love, the cup of a covenant that I'm making with you," which, by the way, is the same covenant that God makes when he says, "When you see the rainbow, you will know that my covenant exists and that I will no longer destroy all of humanity." It's a similar covenant. This is the cup of my covenant to say you belong. You belong. You belong here. You belong here. So as you come for communion, we have plantain chips and juice. Take your time and come as your whole self. And come knowing that you belong exactly as you are. I'm going to ask Selena to come up as I pray. God of our belonging, God who makes us all ordinary people exist in the resurrection community. God, we thank you that you can bring us all together in ways that we would never understand, that you want our diversity, that you love our diversity, that you love us exactly as we are. And so I pray that as we take some time, that we would bring our whole selves, knowing that you want our whole selves. In the name of the Father, Mother, Son, Holy Spirit, amen.
You love me as you find me. You love me as you find me. You love me as you find me, God. You love me as you find me. If you want my heart, then I won't second guess, 'cause I need your love more
'cause I need your love more than anything. And I'm yours. Your love's too good to leave me here. Your love's too good to leave me. And I know I don't deserve this kind of love, but somehow this kind of love's who you are. It's a grace I could never add up to be somebody you still want, but somehow you love me as you find me. You love me as you find me, God. You love us as you find us. 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 Amen. You love us as you find us. God. You love us as you find us.
Will you take the body and the blood as symbols that you belong?
Yo, hey, wow, yes, yes, Lord. Whew, thank you for that word. Goodness, every time you get up here. Her prayer was that she would be coherent. That feels like too small of a prayer for what you offered us. Resoundingly clear and holy, my sis. So thank you. If you would love to connect with us as a community of belovedness and belonging, please scan the QR code, reach out to us at thechurchwehopefore.com. We would love to connect with you, and really it's in those spaces where belonging begins to become a reality, an embodied reality, a relational reality. And so we encourage you to take those steps. We also encourage you in the space of community to give as the Spirit would prompt you to do so. So we're not a community that's going to compel or open up your checkbook for you. We're just going to ask that the Spirit would speak that if that's a desire that would be on your heart to do so. And the language that we have around that is to give joyfully, generously, and sacrificially. And you may do so at the give page online at thechurchwehopefore.com, or you may do so by texting the dollar amount as well. You can also download the Church Center app. There is a season that's coming as we kind of near into summer. Any exhales happening as we move into summer? All of our students in the house. Nobody's taking intensives for the summer, are they? Please don't do that. I did that. I'm so sorry. I just want to give you a hug right now. No, it's good to knock them out, but it is a grind to keep going. So I honor all of that as well. The Church Center app is a space to see things that are happening and things that are going on, even in these summer months where we're slowing things down just a little bit. To that degree, we have no food and fellowship during the summer months. In the same way that we practiced Sabbath Sunday this past Sunday, I love that we needed to take a Sunday off after that word. We're also taking a pause on food and fellowship in that organized by ministry kind of way. So no meals happening on the first Sundays, June, July, and August, but we do encourage you to continue to gather in community with one another. Nicola, I would love for you to come give us a benediction. And as you're doing so, can we just say thank you to the preacher today for the word that she gave us?
Thank you. Would you stand and open your hands to receive this benediction? God sees you. God knows you. You are not unknown to God, and you belong here. You belong, you belong, you belong. Go in peace.